Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Professor, I was going through the Professor Reagan's book for the first lesson that we covered, and I noticed that in the book he stated that natural resources are actually, they fall under land, because back then you said it's actually a fourth part.
Yeah, so these okay, so if you find something that states exactly how things are in the book, take this as official. Yeah,
because I just wanted to ask, point it out.
The thing is, it's yeah, these definitions are always changing. As I said, for instance, in other contexts, you may hear capital being either human capital or physical capital, but also you can hear of yeah. So it's anytime you find this kind of thing, then assume that the book is right, because the thing is, I'm not the one who's writing the exam. So.
Yeah, I know. Okay, Professor, thank you.
All right, let's start. So I'll share my screen, and yeah, if you have extra questions or anything, then the office hours are just after, so that's perfect. You can ask whatever questions you have. All right, so we were at opportunity cost, if I'm not mistaken. Here I had written re-explain opportunity cost. Okay. So that's something that comes up at the exam sometimes. So yeah, okay, I have this I had written last time, but let's start over again. So who asked the question, by the way? Anyway, I need a volunteer for that.
I think for the opportunity cost.
Yeah. Okay, so
last time it was me that was talking about the school fees,
so
also the opportunity cost.
All right. So just a sec. Yeah. So I thought of a way to explain this, and here it is. I think it's the best way to explain it. So there was a game show, I think last week or last weekend on TV, where at the end of the game show, a kid had to decide whether he wanted to have a trampoline or a flat screen 75-inch TV. And the kid chose the trampoline. So that was very funny because I'm sure the parents of the kid would have liked him to pick the TV, but the kid was the one choosing the price. All right, so here is my 2 cents of the opportunity cost. So first of all, for you, what would be the most you would imagine? You have a flat screen 75-inch TV in front of you. So what price would you say what would be the highest you would want to pay for that TV? What would make you exactly indifferent between paying it and getting the TV or not buying it at all? In money, I mean.
Should I drop an example or a number?
Yeah, it can be any number. I don't care, but
2,000 Canadian dollars, I guess.
1,000.
2,000.
2,000. All right, $2,000. Yeah. That's good. And what's your value of trampoline? What would make you indifferent between getting and not getting the trampoline?
I mean, if it's the size of the ones that would be in the park, probably $1,000.
Okay, $1,000. All right. Now, you are in a game show and won. So you get to choose. Your price. So you don't have to buy it. It's just you're at the end of the game show. You won, so you get to choose. But you have to pick either the trampoline or the flat screen TV. So what do you pick? I think I know the answer.
I picked the TV.
Yeah. You choose the TV.
Obviously.
Why? Because it has the highest value for you. So the opportunity cost of this choice.
2 trampolines.
Oh yeah. So that would be okay. So to make you indifferent, I would either give you 2 trampolines and 1 flat screen TV. But actually, what we're going to see is it's not that clear because maybe your marginal the marginal value of an extra trampoline for you is not 1,000. Maybe if you don't have one, then you're ready to pay 1,000. But for a second one, maybe not. So that's more complicated. But so here it is, the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost of this choice. You could say is 2 things, but in general, in the exam, the second one is not getting the trampoline. So you see, you made this decision, and the opportunity cost of choosing the TV was not going back home with the trampoline, or you'd say the opportunity cost is $1,000 because it's the value of what you would have picked in second. All right. So generally, what they're going to say is, oh, you value this at 1,000, this at 800, this at 600. You pick the thing that you value at 1,000. What is the opportunity cost? And to get the right answer, you have to say it's 800. So So that's not too complicated. Now, in real life, when you choose something, you don't just sacrifice one thing, like one trampoline. You sacrifice, for instance, you go to Concordia, you sacrifice your time, you sacrifice spending good time with your friends and family and other things. But all these things, you could sort of aggregate them and say, yeah, the total value of this sacrifice is $10,000, I don't know. And then you would say, okay, the opportunity cost of going to Concordia is losing all these things. And if I had to put a monetary value on it, it would be $10,000. All right. So that's opportunity cost. But so usually we care about this because opportunity cost is what does it mean for you, and monetary cost or the market price is how much does it cost on the market. But these are two different things, because something may be too expensive for you to buy it because you just don't like it all that much, but it might be cheap enough for somebody else who values it more. So your decision to buy it or not is going to depend on how much does it cost on the market and how much do you value it yourself. All right, so that's opportunity cost. Now here we are. So yeah, this is a strange thing about this chapter. It's an introduction. Normally in introduction, you just lay out some basic facts about life and keep things at a high level, and you don't introduce too many technical stuff. But here we are, they introduced this big graph there, and I could just ignore it, or I could maybe explain what's going on. So I think I'm going to explain it. So, and also they give an example of beer and pizza there, and then here it's bicycle paths and roads to repair. Anyways, it's a strange slide. So what I'm going to do is use this example and explain to you exactly what's going on there. So the goal here is to show you how we can describe all the choices that are open to some consumer when they make a decision. So if they, for instance, here they decided how many beers to buy or how many pizzas to buy, given the fact that they're the available income that they can spend on beer and pizza is $16. So what I'm going to do is just start fresh. All right, so, and don't worry, I'm going to put this on the website after that. So we have available income. Yeah, let's write a bit bigger. It's $16. Price of beer, $4, and price of pizza, $2. So now we're purely in the realm of what you can and cannot do. You're not describing what you want to do. It comes later. The consumer decision is later. Now we're just describing the consumer possibilities. So what's going on? So let's describe how the possible choices of consumption available to the consumer. Okay, so what we want to say is what's affordable, basically. So what is the limit? Well, okay, so we know that I can spend $0, I can spend $2, I can spend $6. I cannot spend $17. So I could decide to not spend all my money, or I could decide to spend all my money. But I cannot spend more than what I have. I cannot go in debt. So later on, we're going to see that anyways, people in general don't like to throw money away. So in a sense, what I'm saying there is, this is the $16 I got, and whatever I don't spend, I lose it in some ways, or I bury it in my backyard and I don't care. So in general, nobody would do that. So any choice where you don't spend all your money is something that we assume that consumers don't do, but they're still open to them. So let's first describe so the total what is available for, yeah. Okay, so if I spend all my income, how is it going to look like? So I can have, so the quantity of pizza would be QP. And how much would I spend on my pizza would be QP, the quantity of pizza, times the price of pizza. So it would be $4. Plus, so this is the what I spend on the pizza, then quantity of
times $2.
Yeah, exactly. Quantity of beer times.
Professor, either pizza is $4 or beer is $4. The upper
Yes.
part is different, below is different.
Sorry. Okay, pizza, beer. And this, if I spend all my money, yeah, I could put smaller or equal, but I'm just going to put an equal. That's, yeah, so I'm going to assume that I spend all my money. All right. This has to be equal to $16. So this is what I'm going to represent. So you see that here, this is just a linear equation. And you may remember from earlier in life that you learned that in school, or I really advise you to look back at this if you don't remember. So let's draw it. So here we're going to put how much, how many beers you can buy, how many pizzas you can buy. So beers and pizzas. Put this, yeah, this is better. Okay. So how many beers in maximum could I buy? If I want to just spend on beer, how much can I get?
2 beers?
4?
Yeah,
4 beers.
so,
4 beers, yeah.
so the way to do it is just to set, okay, this to 0, QP is 0, so I don't spend anything on pizzas. And then I get that the quantity of beer times 4 equals 16. So the quantity of beer is 16 divided by 4. It's basically how much money I have divided by how much it costs. So I know that I can have, is that it? Price of a beer. Oh, I think I think that's the thing that, price of beer is $4. All right, okay. So I can get at most, so let's use a red. So quantity of beer that I can get at most is 4. So let's say that 4 is here, more or less. And then how many pizzas can I get in maximum?
8.
8.
Yes, so double. So that would be about here. All right. So 4 and 8. Oops. All right.
All right, I have
So,
a question, Professor.
yeah.
Does the graph have to be like continuous? Because I cannot buy like 2.5 pizzas.
Yes, you do, because I say so.
Okay,
No, in
so
general,
that's
I agree with you, but so okay, that's something economists don't always say the truth. And the one thing that they say is, oh, economic decisions are made at the margin. So what we say by that is, you can decide exactly, I want 2.456 beers. So does that make sense? No. So
But if I
most
tell the-
decisions.
if I tell the barman that I want, I only have $5, he's not gonna pour me a beer and a little bit. Like it's either I buy the beer or I don't, right?
Yes, exactly. So that's economists, when they say people think at the margin, that's okay. I'm going to use a nice word. That's not true. So all our decisions or most of our decisions are actually discrete, in the sense that I either buy a house, don't buy a house, I go to Concordia, I don't go to Concordia, I buy an extra gallon of milk, or an extra 2 liters of milk, or I don't. So most of our decisions are like this. So it's one thing or the other. But why do we assume that you can buy a fraction of a beer or a fraction of a slice of pizza? It's because modeling and math is complicated enough. So it makes things so much simpler to do this like this. Otherwise, what I would be doing is having dots everywhere. So we don't want that. So let's just assume that you can buy an exact fraction of a beer, an exact fraction of a pizza. But that's a great question. All right. So this is what we're going to call the budget line. So it's represents, yeah, okay. This is on my graph and the budget line. All the how would you say, a combination goods for which I spend all available income. Also, sometimes you see a budget constraint. All right. So then question, can I buy, oh yeah, let's put some more numbers in there so we can think a bit better. So here I would have something like 4, and here I would have 2, here I would have 2, and 6. So question, can I buy 2 pizzas and 2 beers?
Well, you could, but according to your rules, since we have to spend all our money, no, you can't.
Yeah, exactly. My class, my rules. So no, you cannot. Well, yes, you can afford it, but it's since we assume that people like spending or like buying stuff, and they don't eat money, or they can't do anything with it except change it for goods and services, then yeah, they wouldn't spend it there. And what's outside of it, say here, can I buy this?
It's unattainable.
Yeah, it's unattainable. Exactly. Here is unattainable. All right. So question for you. why is the budget line negatively sloped? So a negative slope is when the line goes from left and high to low and to right and low. So here it decreases from 4 to 0 as I spend more and more and more on pizzas. So why is that?
You're only losing money?
I'm not losing money.
The more you spend of
Because
one,
the
on
options-
one thing, it limits you what you have available for the other.
Yes, exactly. So imagine,
Is it because of the ratio?
yeah, imagine I spend all my money. And I want an extra slice of pizza. I need how much more? I need $2 more. So I must sacrifice how many beers?
Half a beer.
Yeah, half a beer.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
So the way to express it is this way. So usually this is a good way to put it, but another way is to put it this way. So
Can you convert it to y equals mx plus b, like a regular intercept form?
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to do. So what we care about is we have beers here, right? So this is the y-axis. So let's keep beer here. And we're just going to have this there. And then I can even divide by 4 everywhere. So the quantity of beer is 16 divided by 4. So that's 4. And here the dollars are going to go away. Minus 2 divided by 4. So minus this times 1/2 or 0.5. So you can really see directly the relation, right? Quantity of beer is 4 minus the quantity of pizzas times 0.5. So if I increase my pizzas by 1, then I decrease my quantity of beer by 0.5. Yes. So that's a neat way of putting it. All right. Next question. What happens if my budget increases?
The highest
The-
point on the x-axis and the highest point on the y-axis move up 1.
Yeah,
Well,
and is the slope different or not?
No, it's not
No.
different.
Yes, exactly. So budget line shifts up, slope does not change. And you see it right away here, right? So the slope is 0.5 and minus 0.5. Yes, this should be better. It's a bit more clear if I put it this way. So we can really see it. So if I get more money, then this is going to increase, but the slope is going to stay the same because that's 16. So the slope depends on the relative price between one and the other. So for instance, what I would get is something like this, for instance. more budget. This, yeah, this. Now, other question. Oh yeah, I'm running out of space. Yeah.
Would you be able to just re-explain a bit, like part A, like where you spend all the money and you have to it's just the half part that's like I'm not. Like,
Yeah. Okay. So imagine I'm that's a very good question. So let's do that. So if I'm here, for instance. I'm buying 4 pizzas and 2 beers. And then I want an extra pizza. So how much should I, so it means that I'm going, or let's just say 2 extra pizzas. Maybe that's easier to draw. So if I just say, oh, I'm going to get 2 extra pizzas, well, that doesn't compute because now I run out of money. I was already spending all my money. So the only way to get these 2 extra pizzas is to buy 1 fewer beer. Right, this is 1 would be about here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
All right, so question. What happens if, let's say, pizzas double in price?
The lower end of the budget line would go like halfway to the left.
Yeah, right.
Because availability would be half.
Yeah. And what happens to that one?
Slope will be 1 instead of 1/2, and the line will be so the intercept would be 4 and 4 instead of 4 and 8.
Yeah,
on
that's
the y
perfect.
axis and x axis.
So here, how did I get my 8? Well, I took 16 divided by 2, and I get how many pizzas I can buy in total. So if pizzas are now $4 instead of 2, so I can buy at most 16 divided by 4 equals 4. So this is, so let's put this maybe in purple. Double in price. Last question. What happens if all prices double and my income doubles as well?
Same.
Yes, that's exactly right. Look at this. It's QP times 2 plus QB times 4 equals 16. If I get this doubled by 2, this doubled by 2, and this doubled by 2, what happens to the line equation? Nothing happens. This is a fundamental thing that you're going to learn about economics, is that money in general is is neutral. It shouldn't affect anything. By which I mean we could take all the Canadian dollars that we have in Canada and add 2 zeros or 3 zeros after them. So instead of something costing $2, it costs $2,000. But at the same moment, I get paid also 1,000 more. So it doesn't matter. What matters is how can I spend, or my spending power. So that's what matters for consumers. Yeah, so exactly. If all the prices double and my income doubles, nothing changes. All right. Mr. Godon has a question.
This is basically what this is in a more simplified terms, but this is what happens with inflation every year. When we get the 2% raise at work or whatever, it's the same thing. It's matching our purchasing power, or sometimes a little over or under, depending on how much your pay increases. But it's basically the same thing, right?
Awesome insight. Yes, exactly. So people are, yeah, that's something that's in the news these days. Oh, inflation. Well, economists are not all that stressed about it. So I'm not saying, yeah, in a static model like this, prices and so the value of money is totally neutral. Now, it's not to say that in general, it's not, it is, because in general, so when you think about inflation, you have a dynamic of people having savings that have a certain value, and people earning money on the job market right now. So people who earn money on the job market, if their wages go up, then for them it doesn't matter if there's inflation. But if I'm a retiree and my savings are my savings, and then whoops, there's inflation, then it makes a difference. Because in that case, my income here, 16, wouldn't change. So yeah, inflation is a complex subject, but yeah, in general, economists are not all that worried about it. Actually, inflation for the last 10 years has been, for all matters, too low. So economists would rather have 3-4% inflation. So just to motivate people to spend, because if there's really low inflation or even deflation, what this means is, oh, I could spend $5 buying something today, or I can just wait tomorrow and buy it at $4.75. Well, let's just wait tomorrow, and then people slow down their buying habits, and the whole economy slows down, and there's fewer jobs, and so it's not all that good. It's still good to have some level of inflation. But yeah, that's stepping more in the macro realm. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that because it's just an introduction, but this is a big chunk of consumer theory you've seen already. So I wanted to make it clear that this is what's going on. So now everything's going to be hopefully a bit easier for the rest of the class. All right, so let's go back to our questions. All right. So this was this example for beer $4, pizza $2. So here there's the same example for I guess if you're the mayor of Montreal and you ask yourself, should we add bicycle paths or road repair? Well, there's a choice. So if this is your budget line, so that's how much you're ready to spend on it. Then you can, if you want to spend it all, you can buy C or B, but A is unattainable. Except, yeah, but it's always attainable if you increase taxes. So, but people, maybe I should put a frowny face for some people. They don't like it too much. Yeah, that's the thing. Resources are scarce, and this is this trend in or a common theme in all of economics is that you never have an infinite amount of things to spend. You always need to make choices that may be excruciating because you would like to have everything, but you cannot. You have to choose in life. All right. Yeah, so this is the same thing. Why is it? All right. Okay, this we already said about it. So what is the opportunity cost of your university degree? And nothing. So what you have to buy, what's the cost of the university is the student fees and the books and all of this. But yeah, you have to take in account the fact that you're not going to parties and you're not starting, or maybe you are and you're into ace this class, whatever you do, and you can still eat as many pizza slices and drink as many beer as you like.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
We can also say we're giving up the chance of working instead.
Yes,
making
that's
money.
that's a big one.
Yeah.
Big.
So instead of even spending money, you're making money.
Yeah. Big consideration. So I made I finished my PhD in economics. Was that a good decision? It's questionable because I could have just had more experience, worked on for some private firm somewhere. Maybe I would be rich. Who knows? So that's always something you have to ask yourself. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think it goes back to if with the degree you earn more money than you probably would have without a degree, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Professor, I have a question.
Yeah.
As we say in economics, the capital is secure. But however, as we're approaching negative interest rates, zero interest rates, the cap is still capital scale thing?
You're saying capital is scarce?
So as we say in economics, that capital is scarce.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's scarce in the sense that it's possible that interest rates are going up again. Okay, so I'm going to explain what's going on, what the question is about. So it's a totally macro question. It's outside the realm of this class, but still. So the question is, if there's high interest rate, then what's the cost of, say, buying a house? It's paying mortgage and paying interest on my loans. But what if interest rates are zero? Well, if interest rates are zero, it means that I don't have to repay anything, and in the short run, and I don't have to pay interest. So it's true that it looks like it's free to borrow however much I want. But the thing is, I'm not going to, because I fear that probably in the future it's not going to be zero, and then when the interest rates start to increase again, then I'm going to be in trouble. But if I were to tell you, you can borrow, say, $1,000 from me, and you don't have to pay me interest from now until the end of time, and there's no, you don't have, there's no moment at which I tell you have to pay me back, then I'm not lending you money, I am giving you money. Then it's really true that it's free, because So, and that's why also interest cannot be, interest rates cannot be negative, because then I would pay you to hold my money. So that's a good question. All right. Now, a more complicated version of the same thing, the production possibility boundaries. Yeah, this one, I think you still have questions about it in my lab. So it's sort of a tricky one, but oops, what did I do? Sorry, I think I closed it without. All right, back to business. So I think it's a less straightforward one, but yeah, here we are. You may have questions about this in my lab or the exam. So here we go. So previously let's start with what we had here. So this is it represents all that's available for to us if our budget is I don't know what, but before we had a budget of $16. And then, so what can I afford? I can afford everything that's inside the triangle, and I can't afford everything that's outside the triangle. And a feature of the budget line that you may realize is that it's a straight line. So it's a straight line. It means that it's that the price is constant. If I buy 21 pizzas and or 21 bike kilometers and 2 kilometers of road, or if I just buy road, if I'm maybe the Nicolas would have been more on that side, so you would have preferred road repairs and no bicycle paths. Still, the relative price of bicycle paths and road repair is always the same, because the budget line, the slope is always the same. So all these insights that we get here are exactly the same for the next one. But there is the difference that now the slope is not constant. So here it looks like, yeah, so I can ask you maybe, so here this is quantity of consumption good and quantity of investment good. So question, if I'm at A, is it expensive or not to increase my quantity of consumption good if I'm at A?
It's less expensive?
Yes, because at A I can increase by 1 unit, and you see that the sacrifice in terms of quantity of investment good is quite low. Whereas here, if I'm at C, for instance, I may try, let me zoom in really. I may try to increase by a iota my quantity of consumption good, but I'm really at the limit, and I would have to sacrifice the rest of my my investment good. So that's the thing that you have to see there, is that so the relative price of the two options changes. Yeah, and why is this? Does it have this shape? So here, this shape, we would say it's convex, or the production possibility boundary is a concave set, because it's okay. No math, but yeah, for those who know math, so it's a convex set, and this line here is concave. If I take as reference the horizontal axis, what does that represent? So here's my image of it. So imagine that what you have is a fishing boat, and you want to buy to fish either cod or I don't know, tuna, for instance. I don't. And then you cast a, no, maybe it's not a tuna, is too big a fish. So cod and salmon. All right, cod and salmon. So the two fishes are relatively the same size. So you throw your net away, and then you may catch a bit of salmon and a bit of tuna in your net. So you may be at B, for instance. And then the question is, oh, I realize I really don't care about salmon all that much. I want to maximize if it's cod here, for instance, I want to maximize cod. So I'm going to make my net more appropriate to cod and hopefully catch fewer salmon. But you see that anyways, I'm always going to catch a bit of salmon. So when I'm at 99% cod, the gain in cod that I would get from sacrificing my last unit of tuna is very small, because it's just a feature of the technology. So at some point, if you want to reproduce only one thing, then the resources you have at your disposal are not all that appropriate for that. So this is what is being represented there. So yeah, another way of seeing it is, if you are, I don't know, in Canada, and you can produce either electricity or okay, so that's another good way of seeing it. If I can produce hydropower or electricity produced by using oil from the tar sands. So I have a lot of great rivers in Quebec and lots of tar sands in Alberta. So it makes sense to produce a bit of both. But of course, I could focus on one type of electricity or one or the other by having more budget towards one. But at some point, it would still be super cheap to just at least exploit a bit one of the rivers I have in Quebec, since it's quite cheap to exploit it. So this, what it represents, is the fact that really concentrating on one or the other doesn't give you all that much. The best is to have something in between. So that's the insight you get from this graph.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Still confused on the part why in the production possibility boundary the slope is not constant or like linear, just like it was in the opportunity cost.
Yeah. So it's a feature of the technology you have. So previously, it's what you can buy on the market, and what you assume is, no matter how much beer or pizzas or kilometers of road repair you buy, the relative price of buying one or the other is the same. But here, this is production at the country level. And at the country level, if you really want to concentrate on one thing, like consumption goods, and not produce investment good, then at some point it doesn't give sacrificing this last quantity of investment good for a few iotas of consumption good doesn't give you all that much.
Professor, on your fish example, so let's say that we're going to go for fishing this winter, and we are going to Atlantic Ocean. We have a ship or a boat that can only contain 500 kilograms or 500 tons of weight, and we have two fishes called fish A and fish B. Fish A is expensive, means that highly priced, and fish B is a lower price, and we want to maximize fish A because we can only put 500 kilograms. So that's the production bound, and we will always keep when we put the net, we will always have this fish B coming with us, and we will always have this boundary of mixture of both, but we want to maximize that we get the maximum A, not the B.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so the point is, so imagine that fish A is this fish that you really like, but you still have some of it in your some of fish B in your net by accident. And what it represents is the fact that, yeah, if you have 95% fish A, then getting rid of all of the fish B in your net doesn't help you get more fish A, because you're already almost at the maximum possibility you can have. Whereas if it's beer or pizza, the relative price is always the same. If I have 15 beer and I want one more, then the relative price is the same. Yeah. Right. So it may seem that that I'm going fast. Well, that's because, yeah, the introduction is very long, and and we have to get to the land number one. By the way, what time is it? 38. All right. Okay. Okay. What is yeah, 4 key economic problems? So resource allocation determines the quantity of various goods that are produced. So what is being produced by whom? This is a economic question that we care about. And then which one are produced, which one are not. So we're going to see that this is going to be determined by the market. Price system. Yeah, if we were in a class, Ravi, you had a question? No? Okay, so it's just a hand that's still in the air. So is there some combination of goods that is better than the others? So generally, we don't discuss tastes. Say you like a flat screen TV, you like a trampoline, you like beer, you like pizza. We're not dictating anything. We assume that tastes come before, and then markets allocate resources to maximize the happiness, or what we call utility, based on these tastes. But we don't say which one is really better than the other. It depends on what you like. Important question: what is consumed by whom? So what determines the distribution in a nation's total output amongst its people? Who gets a lot, who gets a little, and why? So this is always controversial. And again, economists are not very well put to judge anything. So we can make a judgment, but we prefer to, as much as possible, not judge. So for instance, yeah, so should governments care about the distribution of consumption? And if so, what tools do they have? Well, if Bill Gates has what he has, or Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, and all of the other have very little. So if we care about ourselves, then we say, no, it's unjust, we should get some of their money. But if you put yourself in their shoes, then they're very happy with what they have, and they're going to say, no, I'd rather go to space or go to Mars with my money. I don't care about you. So that's their judgment. So it's, in that sense, economics is really a science, in the sense that we care about understanding how things come about, and then judging what is better or worse. We still do it oftentimes, but that's more open to debate. Yeah, so who gets a lot, who gets a little, so that depends on wages, productivity, and redistributive policy. where this policies. If we were in a communist country, then all of that would be administered by the state. But now things are more complicated in Canada. It's will the economy consume exactly the same goods that it produces? Somebody has an opinion on that?
It usually doesn't. There's usually overproduction in some sectors, sometimes underproduction. It's hard to match the production to the exactly consumption.
Ah, right. So what happens if you have overproduction?
Well, if you have overproduction, then well, that's wasted. It's basically the business has made a wrong decision about how many. Like, let's say we're talking about cars. If Toyota overproduces cars, then that's money that they spent making those cars that they could have spent on other things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a loss in a sense for the business, but it could also mean that the goods could go down in price since they have more to sell. Then they could potentially lower their prices.
So we would lose them really if they can't sell them, right? If they just have to trash them after. Yeah, so not necessarily. Sometimes overproduction.
It also depends on the lifespan of the item.
Yeah. But so cars is unsold cars. But there is one item that's really being wasted all the time. Food, yes, by everybody and by restaurants and by grocery stores. So I think it's about half of the food because it's complicated. It's if you're a restaurant and you expected the people to come on New Year's Eve, but then there's the lockdown again and you waste all of this, so you have to probably throw it away. It's so that's an extreme event, but yeah, things are always unpredictable. What else? Is there another reason why you would not necessarily consume what you produced?
Well, you could have underproduction. So let's say Apple is releasing a new iPhone and they only make 10 million, but 20 million people want to buy it. Then more people want to get the
so
product.
there's a shortage of iPhones, but so still the iPhones that are being produced are going to be consumed, right? But there is also a big reason why some country would consume things that are not what they produced in the first place.
Export.
Yes, so trade. So not trade. Yeah, and yeah, especially small countries are open to trade and specialize in few important sectors. So we're going to have a chapter on trade later on, so I don't want to spend too long on it. All right, what else? Why are resources sometimes idle? So that's, I would say, more of a macro question. So depends what you mean by idle. So I don't know. I've lived in France for a while, and yeah, they like their coffee break, their 2 hours lunchtime, their vacation, their strikes. They have a bridge too, the pont. So the strategy is you place the holiday on the Thursday, and then, oh, well, there was a holiday on Thursday. It's really doesn't make sense to just come for one day. So let's just not come from Friday too. So then you have a four-day weekend. So they do that. So is that idle? I don't know. I would say that if I'm taking a vacation, then I'm not being a resource. I'm being just taking a vacation. In other reasons why you would have idle resources is yeah, so probably I would say yeah, COVID would be one. So disruption. That we see right now, disruption in supply chains. Yeah, so that's the supply side.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So when we say idle, do we mean like unused?
Yeah, unused. Yeah, idle is unused. And sometimes on the demand side, you have just that people don't want to spend money. So if yeah, consumers want to spend.
Could it also be if producers don't want to risk because, like, let's say there's been an economic downturn?
Yeah, that's good too. If producers don't want to risk.
Does the public preference sometimes doesn't affect?
Yes, for sure. So do you know which famous economist discussed this a lot?
Keynes.
Yes. John Maynard.
So another reason would be, let's say you have a sugar factory and the sugar prices are really low. You don't want to sell at a loss. You would be better off if the factory is shut down rather than selling using the factory to produce.
Yeah, it's true. So it's complicated. It depends on the specific sector and the specific situation. Yeah, but yeah, it's true that sometimes it's just better. You're just better off to shut down if you have too many fixed costs to pay just to start production. So there is a big idea that Keynes had is if yeah, especially because of lack of demand. Then government can step in, spend, yeah, to make up, yeah, to use the idle resources.
The other thing is sometimes having a certain amount of redundancy in a system like adds to its robustness. Like say, for example, with electrical grid, you don't want to, usually you want to have a margin of safety. There's all kinds of things that you can't necessarily predict that can happen. You can have a sudden surge in demand if the weather is super cold, or and you can see that I don't know, in Europe, for example, now they've been reducing their spare capacity for power generation. So suddenly you have a confluence of events that you couldn't necessarily predict. And then all of a sudden you have like power prices can be 4 times the normal, something like that.
Yeah, I totally, that's a very good point. So in that sense, resources are idle, but that's just because you have a margin for error. So yeah, in the COVID-19 situation, that's exactly it. what's going on, what's so wrong about all the production in the world and all the supply chains, is because the system was just so efficient. So everybody said, oh yeah, we're just going to import things from China and then produce things in Bangladesh and Germany and assemble them in some other place. And everything works super well until you start disrupting stuff. And then, oh, the shipment doesn't come in, and then the firm cannot produce in time, and everything goes to south. Yeah, that's a very good point. So things are, in some way in economics, we have to sort of know a bit about everything, or be able to think about, put ourselves in the shoes of some entrepreneur who may face specific challenges to understand what's going on. And so it's okay to say at a high level, maybe the reason is lack of demand, lack of supply, but at the micro sense, there are specific situations for, All right. Growing capacity, productive capacity. What happens if you're able to produce more? Maybe you have better technology, for instance. So in that case, you would be able to increase the maximum production of investment good, and also increase the maximum consumption production of consumption investment good and consumption good. So that's what you would call an expansion of the production by possibilities boundary.
Would it all of that be like the Industrial Revolution?
So here they say it's growth, so growth for whatever reason. So growth in technology may explain it, or just bigger population. Many different factors can influence this. So you could say growth.
Professor, if possible, can you spend 2 or 3 minutes on the graph? The last graph was also hard to understand. Like there's no slope in it. It's like the slope is a kind of a straight line. This is like no straight line. And if we have time.
If you I've already spent a bit of time, but what I'm going to do is, just when the class finishes, I'm going to spend maybe a few minutes to go back again on it in more detail for people who thing is, the class is moving so fast, especially at the beginning. So but so I'll spend a bit of time when after the class. From productivity, better sources, better technology. All right. Okay, microeconomics and macroeconomics. So what is the big difference between the two? Well, I've been discussing a bit about it. So microeconomics is a study of the cause and consequences of the allocation of resources. And it's really the science of choice. So when you have microeconomic agents like consumers, firms, lenders, borrowers, workers. So all of these people, we assume they have choice. And what we want to is describe as well as possible what they're doing. And we usually look at one specific market or two markets Whereas macroeconomics is really looking at the economy as a whole and looking at what may be working or not, idleness of resources. Keynes was interested in that. Yeah, so this is what macroeconomics is all about. Of course, yeah, what I could say too is macroeconomics is often at the bottom of macroeconomics models. So we say that the models are micro-funded. So it means that even though we're trying to explain a phenomenon from a macro perspective, at the bottom of this, we are still going to see microeconomic agents doing their things. That's what you are going to learn later on. All right, economics and government policy. Government policy could be used to alter the allocation of the economy's resource to correct for market failures. This is a big topic. Here we're going to market failure in a market failures is anything that makes markets inefficient. And you're going to see that. So if you have perfect competition, perfect information, just private goods, like market for toothpaste or market for, many types of markets, they are mostly efficient, but there are many reasons why they may be inefficient. So we see that later. So pollution is one, public goods like parks is one, lack of information, lack of competition, so monopoly power, all of these things come in there. That's what makes economics interesting, in my opinion. So not when things go well, but when things go wrong. Do free market lead to fair outcomes? Depends who you ask. If you ask a rich person, they may say, yeah, it's pretty fair. I would say I work myself hard enough and now I'm rich, so I deserve it. But if you're not, then you may think it was rigged in advance. Yes, so this is, of course, yes. So can the government improve things? Yes, if market failures, especially. Or if there's inequality, for instance. So you may say, I want to redistribute through taxes, for instance. Complexity of modern economics. So self-organizing. So this is something I said before. So it's that's the neat thing about markets, is they organize economic activity. And as a worker or as a firm, you don't really have to understand everything that's going on in the world. You just have to care about what's the market price of your product, what's the cost of your time, or what's the cost of your inputs, and you can make good decisions based on that. The rest, you don't have to care about it. So that's why we say it's self-organizing. Yeah. So do you know who was a famous economist who maybe started it all and realized that markets were self-organizing?
Adam Smith.
Yeah, Adam Smith. So here he is. So he said, yeah, that's his famous sentence. It's not from the benevolence of the butcher, brewer, or the baker that we get our dinner, but for their own self-interest, because they care about the money we're going to give them. So not from their humanity, self-love, but their own necessities. But one sad thing about Adam Smith is that that's like the famous quote that everybody remembers him for. So he looks like he's just a pro free market guy and doesn't think that there's anything else in life. But his books on philosophy and the theory of moral sentiments and all of this are huge work, where he envisioned the role of the state, taxes, the army, everything. So this is one smart part of it, but yeah, that's what he's known for. Efficiency.
Sir, how long do we have left? Because it's the end of class already.
Oh,
I have to go to another class.
It's 10 o'clock already? Oh yeah, it's 10 o'clock. All right, so class finished. So for people who still want, so you can go. We're going to start here next. But for people who still want explanation about the earlier graph, I can spend a bit of time on it. All right, so thanks a lot, everybody.
Thanks, bye.
Yeah.
Okay, so let us go back to our previous example. Or I'm thinking, should I make a new graph?
Yes, that'd be nice.
Okay, how should I best explain this? Yeah, it's really the production possibility boundary. So let me think of a good example. Okay, all right. So let's go for it. So I'm going to make a new. So imagine I'm a firm and I have I produce two output. So I don't know, I produce, what can I use as a good example? So I can, okay, yeah, I produce cars and tractors, all right? So cars versus tractors. So these are my two products. So I don't know what firm does that, but imagine that's the case. So it has to be something that's not too different, but not too similar at the same time. Here is cars. Here is tractors.
So it's a company that invests its materials in building either cars or tractors.
Yeah, exactly. Correct? And I have some machines that are very well suited to produce my tractors, some other machines that are very well suited to produce my cars. And my usual production is, let's see here. So that's, that would be something like 200 tractors and 200 cars. And then what happens? Well, it's spring, and farmers need to start plowing their fields. So there's a bigger demand for tractors, and the price of tractors go up. And I realized that maybe just for this month, I should be producing more tractors than cars. So what's open for me? Well, I can maybe repurpose some machine or some of the metal I was using for cars. I can repurpose them to produce tractors easier. So I'm going to produce maybe let's see here. Let's say now that's 250 tractors, and I would produce 100 cars. Yeah, and so imagine I realized that, oh, it's not enough. So many people need tractors, that's crazy. But so how could I still produce even more tractors? Well, so now the remaining machines that are still producing cars are so well suited for cars that it's the extra few tractors I'm going to get out of not using them for car is very little. So you see that, so the best I could do maybe is kick up, so have maybe 260 tractors at most. If I just destroy all my machine producing cars and I produce 0 cars, and all I do is produce tractors instead. But I cannot get a lot of bang for my buck doing this, because anyways, they were so specialized for producing cars. And on the other hand, if there's very little demand for tractors, and I want to repurpose the machines I was using to produce tractors, then initially it's quite easy. I can think, oh, I can not buy tires for tractors and buy tires for cars, and I can not use the metal for tractors, use it for cars. So I can produce like maybe 300 cars. But you see that the same thing is going to happen at some point. What's useful to producing tractors just isn't well suited for producing cars. So that's why I could try to sacrifice all of the machines that I would be using to produce tractors to produce just cars, but it won't give me all that many more cars. So that's why we get this situation there. So it's a case in which at some point you have resources that are well devoted to producing one thing and not for the other. You can try to repurpose them, but it's not that easy. So some resources are best suited for producing one type of good and repurposing them for the other doesn't help all that much. yeah, that's all there is to it. If I live in some place, yeah, some other example. Yeah, imagine I have plastic and iron. I can produce what's made of plastic. Like yeah, Tupperwares, plastic, and spoons in iron. I can try producing only spoons or only Tupperware, but yeah, it's not the most appropriate use of my resources. Plastic spoons or iron Tupperware. So that's the basic idea. Is that does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, that's what there is to it. And you compare that to me buying a Tupperware or buying a fork or or a spoon. Well, I can always go in the market and buy more of one and less of the other, and the relative price is always the same. Whereas if I have to produce it and spend resources that are well suited for one use on the other, then it's just not as good. All right. So other questions?
Could you post this?
Yeah, I'll post it on the website. Yeah, on the Moodle.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question that is out of topic concerning Moodle.
Yeah.
For the assignments, how would we get a notification that there's a new assignment online? Would you tell us or?
I think you can already do all of them. It's just that there is a if you look at the class outline, they say when you have to finish each assignment.
So the deadlines are on the outline.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So that's exactly why I'm running like crazy with the material, because the assignment 1 is coming, and I feel it's just overwhelming, the amount of stuff that I have to. And flying, but taking 10 seconds per slides, it's not all that useful, but yeah, I don't have any choice. All right. Okay, so have a nice Tuesday, and no, we're Tuesday, right? So yeah, I see you Thursday. All right. So have a nice day, and I see you later.
I have
Bye.
a question.
Question.
Sorry, I have two questions. When you talk about relative prices, it's the price that you pay for a good or a service. Is that?
It's the price of one divided by the price of the other. It's
Okay.
what you have to sacrifice in terms of the other good. So here, for instance, what is the relative on this segment? What is the relative price of tractor in terms of cars, well, it's how much yeah, how much does it cost me to get an extra tractors in terms of car? So if I want here to get an extra, that's 250. So that's 50. So an extra 50 tractors, I have to sacrifice 100 car. So the relative price. So it's not a price because I'm not buying it, but that's the relative cost in a way. So, oops. Of one tractor in terms of cars is so I have to sacrifice 100 to get 50 extra tractors. So it's equals to 2. Yeah. So for each extra tractor I get, I have to sacrifice 2 cars.
I don't know if you've shared the screen to show the example again.
Sorry.
No worries.
Here it is. Yeah. So I was saying here on this segment there, the relative price of getting my tractors would be what? It's how much do I have to? So what we see is the relative price or cost of one tractor in terms of car is how much cars do I need to sacrifice to get one tractor. So here I see that I get 50 more tractors and I sacrifice 100 cars. So the relative cost is 100 car divided by my 50 tractors equals 2. So, and the slope is -2. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Makes a bit okay. Yeah, makes a bit more sense. And
you see that the relative price would be different here and here. So it would be even steeper here because I just get 10 more tractors and I sacrifice for 100 car.
So,
and here it's less.
Is it like the opportunity cost?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Oh, okay, right. I see. That's better. My second question was regarding the labs. Each lab corresponds to one chapter.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so to make it clear. Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Just to know what I should expect, like how many questions would be per one lab assignment?
Yeah, there are a bunch. And especially what's surprising is that in the midterms have very big, well, I don't know how they're going to do it this year, but last time it was, you had 50 questions for each midterm and 100 questions for the final. So good luck answering a 100 question. Even when I was just reviewing the exam to see if it makes sense after 60 questions, my brain was melting. Really, it's a lot of work. So you shouldn't take this class lightly at all.
Are the questions in the form of MCQ or?
Yeah, there are multiple choice. That's for sure. There are multiple choice because this class is already a few hundred students and we have multiple sections. So I don't know how many. I think it's over 1,000 students that take my group. So so that's the only way we can do it. It's multiple choice, but so some of them are something like, yeah, they could say, for instance, what is the relative price? So you get to perform some simple computation, or sometimes less simple computation. But yeah. So and they give you multiple choices.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Professor. I had a question about a book.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I bought the book and it asked me to put a course ID, and the message says to ask your instructor. And I wanted to ask if you have the course ID.
Did you go through Moodle to do it?
Yeah, I clicked through the Moodle and
yes, for the course ID.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like this for anybody else, but and I read the course outline and I saw the instruction, but I don't know, for some reason it requires me to put in a course ID.
So I guess the course ID is is it your student ID or the course ID?
Course ID. It's what because I used the labs before with different courses, and I know that usually it's like this, where you have to put a course ID and it allows you to read the e-text and use the labs.
Oh, okay. Yes, first time I've got this question. So did you try something like Eco 21 section J or Eco 201 or something like this? On top of my head,
oh, someone just put something in the chat. I don't know.
Okay.
That's
yeah. So Lender 08031. It's like this magic code that works all the time. So Lender is Moshe. Is the coordinator of this class. And but yeah, usually you shouldn't use this, but I think it works. So at some point, it just whatever works for you. If you can get in the my lab, and that's what matters. The thing is, maybe you won't get this. Yeah. Anyways, it should work. Yeah.
okay. I will try and I'll let you know. I'll email you if it doesn't work, but we'll see.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
Thanks to you, and yeah, have a nice day. I see you Thursday. Okay, without further question, I declare this class over.